Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders What podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, my new best friend from that I connected online. She's also from Toronto in the GTA. My new good friend, Luisa Morrone, proud Italian Canadian woman. And we connected through our common good friend Jay's, the Sales Ninja Guru Mastermind class back in April.
Oh, last month. Yeah. What was it? Oh, already 2 months has gone by. Wow.
Wow, it's already August. Wow, time flies. Time doesn't
It's
fly.
already
Time
August.
is. Anyways, yeah.
Amazing.
So we've been chatting, having amazing conversations, and from the first moment, as soon as I heard her introduce herself, I said, "Wow, I need to connect with her. I need to bring on a podcast because she is an amazing guest. She has a truly, truly, truly one of those goosebump inducing stories." And we connected, we talked, and we've been best friends ever since. A little bit about her. What can I say? She's phenomenal. She does a lot of good things. One of them is that, in a nutshell, she's a type 2 diabetes warrior, helps people lose weight, send type 2 diabetes into remission, and get them off medication. She completely changed her life, her husband's life, and now she's changing lives around her. She used to be 320 pounds. She was taking 2 Metamorphines a day. She was and not in a good shape, and she was heading towards a lot of troubles. And then she took a drastic decision. As an Italian woman, you tell an Italian person to stop eating pasta, pizza, and lasagna. It's almost you're telling them, kill yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, stop breathing, stop breathing. And she was able to do it cold turkey. And she changed her life in the process, losing 150 pounds, getting off medication, and reversing type 2 diabetes. And now she went from not barely being able to move around to now being a beautiful model, doing fashion shows.
Thank you. You're
and
too
all
kind.
that. No, it's the truth. So a lot of amazing things. And, it took her a while to really do things about it, because she had a history of diabetes in the family. Her father-in-law also died, both from the complications that came from diabetes, and she was warned that if she didn't lose weight, she'd end up in a wheelchair and God knows what else. And finally, she said, enough is enough. Pasta, pizza, lasagna, all those amazing sugar, all those ciao bella, no more. And she's been, she changed her life, and she helped her husband as well, who was overweight. He was taking how many medicines again?
18 pills.
18 pills, and he had kidney failure. He was
he was headed in that direction. His kidney was failing. Yes.
Yeah, and for 5 years, her husband, didn't want to do anything. But finally, a time came that it was literally a matter of do or die, and he did it. And now she's literally transforming lives, saving families, and she's doing God's world. So I can talk until the cows come home about her. And she's been phenomenal. She's been giving me a lot of tips she's a super successful business woman as well. But anyways, there's so much we can talk. And, as I always say, my MTA, my most trusted advisor, this little guy is telling me that me and her, we're going to have a lot of, this is just, we're going to be doing a few podcast episodes together.
I think so. Yes.
We've done at least one call a week for the past 2 months, and it was absolutely.
Yes, we hit it off, and it was just boom.
Yeah. I left Toronto and I'm in beautiful Malaysia. I wish, we had connected when I was there. Would love to meet with you. Not for pizza, but, just a chat.
Not over a pizza. No.
No more. But hey, listen, absolute honor, pleasure having you. Luisa, welcome to the show, my wonderful friend.
Thank you.
Pleasure's on mine.
So, I guess you can ask me some questions about how
I will.
I will.
Don't worry. I will. It's so first and foremost, tell us, for people who don't know you, who's Luisa as a person, as a human being, as a woman? We're going to talk about your business and all that later on.
Sure.
But at the base, because my podcast, what I like to do on my podcast, I like to have a look under the hood, so to speak, to see what's in your heart, to get to know you as a human being first and foremost. So tell us, for people who don't know you, who's Luisa as a person, as a human being, as a woman?
Yeah. Well, I was born into an Italian Canadian family, And of course, like many cultural groups around the world, family time is around the table, always. Breaking bread together, eating together. I think every single cultural group gathers around the table because that's how you bond. And of course, like many cultures as well, and I see these TikTok videos of Persians' mothers saying, eat, eat. And that is very much even like the Italian culture. So even when we used to go visit my aunties, you walk in and the first thing is sit down and eat. And
manja.
Right, manja. And it'd be like, but I already ate. And they would, I don't care, you eat again.
And if you don't eat, they feel offended,
They're offended because most mothers who, and Italian mothers and many other mothers around the world, they show their love through their cooking,
Absolutely.
right? And they sit there and they enjoy, firstly, to prepare that food and then to watch you eat it. It's an exchange of love. So I grew up with that. I grew up with my mother, who's an excellent cook, and my father, Italian immigrants coming from at that time, a very poor country after World War II. There was mass immigration to US and Canada. And my father vowed he would never go hungry again. And so he insisted that there always had to be primo piatto, secondo piatto, terzo piatto. In Italian, that is, the primo is the appetizer. Then the secondo piatto, second plate, was always a pasta dish. And then there was always the main course of some sort of meat accompanied with vegetables and salad. And then usually fruit for dessert, because Italians don't really eat dessert after dinner. But it was always cheese and fruit was eaten at the end of the meal.
What about the espresso and the gelato?
And an espresso and of course gelato, which is Italian ice cream, not as creamy, not as milky as the North American kind of ice cream. So you grow up like that, and food is never denied you. Mom, I'm hungry. Oh, there's always leftovers. There was always, my mother cooked for an army, right? Always. Whenever Dad brought guests home, there was plenty for everyone. And so I loved food. I love food. And as a young girl, when I turned 14, Mom, she was an at-home mom till my baby sister was of kindergarten age. There were 4 of us, 3 girls, 1 boy. And so what happened is at about the age of 14, when I was in grade 9, my mom finally went to work because her youngest finally, was in school. And I was tasked with cooking. Well, my mother would prepare, like in a pan, she would put the chicken and the vegetables and put the olive oil and sprinkle them with spice and put it in the fridge with foil. But it was my responsibility when I got home to put it in the oven, to prepare the salad, etc., and start boiling the water for, of course, the pasta. So I grew up with a love of cooking, because then I would say to my mother, Ma, you don't have to prepare it, just leave the meat out, I'll do it. And that's how I learned, by watching my mother and then taking over a lot of the cooking duties. Of course, once my mother was home, the matriarch took over, and of course she did the weekends. As well, Italians had a habit of Sunday was dedicated to sitting around the table. Every night was, but Sunday it was lunch. Mom started that sauce at 8 in the morning. And the smell would permeate into the upper floors of the bedrooms.
Absolutely.
You knew you were going to have lasagna or bocconcini or manicotti or some sort of pasta dish accompanied with maybe some lamb. My dad, we cooked very antica, which is very casalinga. It means home cooked. So a lot of foods that are really considered peasant foods, like baked goat head, roasted in the oven with potatoes and carrots, tripe, tripe, what they call sweetbreads in North America was really the gizzards, the stomach, all the things that the butcher throws out. Those were my dad's favorites. And we grew up with these foods, and it was delicious. But every Sunday, every Italian Canadian that I know that grew up in Canada, it was mandatory. Even if you went clubbing on Saturday night and got home at 5 in the morning, you had to be at that table hungover at 1 o'clock. And you started with the first plate of appetizer and then the pasta dish. It was usually lasagna, like I said. And then it was just an eating fest, and we finished eating at 2, and then it was round 2, right? About 5 o'clock, everybody, after they've had their little nap, it was round 2 of eating. Then we ate all the leftovers. And then, of course, throughout the week and the weekends, you would have visitors. Your aunt and uncle would come with your cousins. So food was number one. Number
Yes.
one.
Love that.
And so what I discovered is that I became, I don't know, a glutton. I would hide food for myself. I loved some of the food so much that I would take it in my room. Not that there wasn't an abundance of food. There was. But some of the delicacies for us was the charcuterie board. My mom and dad made homemade capicollo, homemade prosciutto, homemade salami. And when that was broken out because a special guest came, whoa, we ate it with bread and cheese. We had the crotonese cheese and Parmigiano cheese. We had it with prosciutto cotto. All these charcuteries was only brought out during special times. And so I took, for some reason, a liking to all these homemade charcuterie sausages and salamis, and would take 1 or 2 and keep them in my room. And
without mama knowing, you had the old stash under your bed at the drawer.
right. And so I would stash them, in my
I did
bed.
that too. I did that too.
And so hang on, I just have to pause because somebody, my business partner is. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I started to hide food in my room, and I was a chubby baby, and then I was a little bit lean, but then for the remainder of my childhood, I started to gain weight, yeah, we played outside, those were the days when the parents said, go out and play all day. And then they would, whistle and call us all home to eat at 6 o'clock. We played hide and seek. We ran around. The ice cream truck would come. We'd beg my father banana splits and all that. And I started to plump. I started to plump up. I started to plump up, and I got bigger and bigger. And then, through my teens again, it was an up and down yo-yo, right? I'm an Italian Gina wearing high heels, teasing my hair like Madonna, going to the clubs. And so sometimes, I would have to fit myself, really into these pants. I used to use powder and Vaseline just to get into these tight clothing. But I ended up really, my weight fluctuated. And then, like most girls, you start to say, well, I have to starve myself to lose the weight. And that does a number on your metabolism, right? So I started to starve myself. I'll go days just eating boiled chicken, boiled or broiled chicken, no fat on it whatsoever, boiled broccoli, boiled carrots, boiled potatoes, boiled rice. It was, not tasteful, right? Didn't taste good, but I could lose 10 pounds in a snap, in a week. If I ate like that, 10 pounds down, got to the club looking good. But every time you did that, it became harder to lose weight. It did. It became harder because that starts to toy with your metabolism. You see, it's the up and down. Your body doesn't know, are you starving me again? Oh boy, I better hang on to the fat because she's starving me again, right? And that's, and I explain a lot of things in layman's terms because I don't go into the scientific reasons.
Sure.
But it's typically what happens is your body starts to just think, oh, here she goes again with the starvation, giving me 800 calories a day. Okay, well, I'm going to stubbornly hang on to this fat that she wants gone. And I did a number, and many other girls my age, many of us did it. It was like, oh my God, I got to go to a wedding. I got to drop 10 pounds. Oh my God. And so we would go on the soup diet. We would go on the, low fat diet. We would do all these diets. But problem is, what I've discovered is your brain, when you tell your brain, I'm going on a diet, your brain's like, oh, okay. And we're going off it at some point. And that sets you up for failure right away. You're going on a diet and your brain can't wait to hear that you're going off the diet. Do you see?
Right. Yeah. Listen, we're gonna dive deeper into that in a moment. But first, I'd like, wow, I love the way this has started. I love how you put the picture of the way how it was growing up and all. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I can relate to a lot of
Yeah.
that. It was the same with me,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
going to all these relatives' house. It's not just if you didn't eat, if you didn't finish your plate, they would feel
Oh,
offended. And then once
oh,
you finished it, you force yourself, oh, here's some more, here's some more, here's some more. Because the
oh,
more you ate, the more you showed your love
yeah.
to them, your respect, your
Yes.
appreciation,
The offense that they take. Your
Yeah.
host, we go visit my cousin, and listen, we both know our cousins were our best friends.
Oh, yes.
All we saw was our cousins. So all the weekends, it was always together. But you're right, your aunt would get so offended, or your second cousin once removed that you went to visit with your parents would be like, you don't like? You don't like?
You don't like me?
You don't like
Yes.
me? You don't like my food? You don't like me? And it's like, oh my, you don't love me. Never mind like, it was, you don't love your auntie? Your
Yeah,
auntie made this beautiful dish of manicotti stuffed with ricotta cheese, and you don't like it?
yeah, I know.
And then it's, oh no, oh, give me more. Okay. And you just give in.
And that's why before you know it, you
Yeah.
gain weight. Yeah, I've been there. So what I like to do first is I like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you as a
Sure.
person. Ready?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right. So Luisa, tell us, what makes you happy as a person?
Cooking for my family.
Oh yeah. What's your favorite?
Yeah.
What's your signature dish?
Ooh, my signature dish would have to be, oh God, there's so many. Chicken breast, pounded thin, and then stuffed with cheese, spinach, sometimes prosciutto rolled up, and then baked in the oven. I love making lasagna. I used to like making lasagna. You've put me on the spot because it's all the foods I used to make, and I still make. Get this. I still make lasagna. I still make pasta, but I make it for my family and I don't eat it. I enjoy watching them eat it.
So you eat a different diet than your family. You're not putting your family. I mean, not
No, I don't.
encouraging
No,
them.
I
Okay.
just don't eat the one dish
Ah.
that's heavier, that has the higher carbs, like the pasta.
Okay.
Right? So no, but I guess my favorite dish to make is steak.
Oh yeah.
I've learned how to make a good steak, which is not really Italian. Of the Italian dishes, I would have to say veal piccata, I love making anything with veal. I like making anything with, anything with sauce, of course, tomato sauce.
Oh, yeah.
We all make okay, I've got to actually, you pulled it out of me. My favorite thing to make is meat sauce, tomato
Oh.
sauce with ground veal in it. That's
Oh.
been cooking all day on the stove, because the longer you cook a sauce, the thicker and the tastier. And when you put meat in the sauce, it just gives it more flavor. We will put veal shanks in the sauce. We've put ribs in the sauce. And of course, then the meat is also fall off the bone tender because it's been simmering on low for hours. So to answer the question in a very indirect way, after I went through all of them, it's making homemade tomato sauce.
You're
Homemade
making
tomato
me
sauce.
you're making me salivate right now. So stop it, please.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what makes you smile?
My family, my husband and my children.
How many kids?
I have a husband who has loved me through thick and thin. And when I say thick and thin, he never, even when I got to 320 pounds, ever said that I was big or that he wanted me to lose weight. As a matter of fact, while all the family around us would be like, another serving of lasagna. Luisa, that's your third serving. Vince, control her. You know what he would say? Baby, eat whatever you want.
Beautiful.
Leave her alone. She's beautiful. I love her. And when I look at her, I still see the woman I married many years ago. And then he would go and get me a fourth piece of lasagna. So he enabled me. He was my enabler. So he makes me happy. And my two children. I have a daughter who just turned 25 and a son who's 22. And they're just amazing human beings.
Beautiful. Now, let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches higher. What makes your heart sing? What sets your soul on fire?
helping people do what I
Mm,
did.
yes, saving
I
lives,
now,
literally.
I cannot stop talking about how I lost the 150 pounds, how I reversed type 2 and sent this disease into remission, and how I got off. You had earlier said 2 pills. It was 4 pills of, I was taking 4 metformin pills a day, 2 in the morning, 2 at night. So, and the problem, Lorenzo, is the fact that when you're a diabetic, you start on one medication. Typically it's metformin. It could be another form of oral pill. But what happens is that within a short time, a year, maybe 2, you need cholesterol, you need statins for your cholesterol. And then the third thing that happens is blood pressure goes up.
Mm,
Diabetes comes first, then high cholesterol, high blood pressure. You end up on more pills, you see. And that would have been the trajectory of my life. So for me, what makes my heart sing is knowing that I am saving people's lives.
families and marriages. Yes.
Families. I'm saving people from, listen, diabetes is a killer, but it's a silent killer.
Yes.
The complications that arise from diabetes are visual, loss of vision, you lose your limbs. I don't know if you've heard of people who get their leg is removed because of complications.
Yeah.
Obesity is a complication, the cholesterol, the high cholesterol, the high blood pressure, heart failure. There are so many things that diabetes affects. And right now, 40%, I think, of the population in the world is either type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic, meaning they're going to become 40%, 40%. And if you don't do anything about it, it gets bad. It does.
We'll talk about that in a moment later,
Yes.
because I definitely want to dive deeper into that, not only for
Absolutely,
but also for myself, because my parents were both diabetic, and I don't want to go that route. So not only me,
That's
but other
right.
people as well. So now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
The same thing. The fact that I have a solution.
Mm,
I offer diabetics or pre-diabetics a way out of the life that awaits them.
mm,
And what makes me sad is actually, I will go back to where I was when I didn't think that I could get myself out of my predicament.
mm.
And what makes me sad and angry is, oh, well, I got to take pills for the rest of my life. Oh, my doctor said the pills aren't helping anymore. I have to go on injections now. I got to inject myself with insulin. Oh, my doctor said that my sugars are still bad, even with the insulin. So he has to give me Jardian and metformin back because it's not doing the job.
Mm.
Oh, my doctor now said that my eyes are not doing well and I have to go see an eye doctor. Oh, my doctor says my kidney's not looking too good and I have to go see a kidney specialist now. That's what makes me sad, because there is a way out. There is a way out. And diabetics have to understand that they have a lifelong disease and it's not going away. The problem is, once you become one and you cross from being a pre-diabetic to becoming one, you can't go back.
Wow.
You can't. You can't go back. And some people are lucky. Some people can eat all the carbs they want. You ever see them? People, cake and 3 slices of cake, but they're not diabetic. They're not. Some people don't become diabetic. Lucky them. But those that are, sorry?
It's in the gene and the DNA of those people.
It's in the genes. You know, some people are lucky and don't become, but for those that are being told, like I was warned for many years, Luisa, my doctor, Luisa, another year has passed and I'm warning you, you're going to become a diabetic. Watch yourself. I told you to lose 20 pounds. You came back, you gained 30 pounds. What's going on?
Wow.
And I was in denial. And I go, I'm not going to become one, even though my father was one. So that's what makes me sad, is that we just accept, oh, now I'm a diabetic. I got to take the pills. Oh, I can still eat my bread. I can still eat all the foods I love. I just have to eat smaller portions. That's all. But that's not true, Lorenzo. And we'll do a deep dive on that.
Absolutely. Now, what scares you?
What scares me is that if I hadn't changed my life, I would not be able to help others. I believe that God actually, I thank God that I got diabetes. I know it sounds weird, okay? But I was extremely obese, very overweight, couldn't walk, used a cane to get around, needed hip surgery because the cartilage in my right hip was gone, but didn't qualify because I was obese. They don't operate on you because you won't recover well. They want you to lose some weight. But I was in this cycle of not being able to. So for me, I thank God for giving me when my doctor said, you are now a diabetic. I've been warning you, and now you're a diabetic. God, it was like God giving me a slap. Because that's when the fear of the kidney disease, of going on dialysis, of going blind, it was the trigger actually that finally got me to take action, to finally do something about losing the weight, getting the operation, throwing away the cane, losing 150 pounds. It's very difficult to do, but it's not that difficult actually, because I figured it out. And that's why I have the KCKO method, a hybrid of keto and low carb. But that's what makes me sad is that, and what makes me sad as well is that there are others in the same position that I was in 9 years ago. What makes me sad is that if I hadn't understood, I would not have been able to save my own husband's life when he started having kidney failure.
So if you hadn't changed your life, where would you have been now today? Would you still be around?
I believe so. I was unable to get the hip surgery. So my doctor kept saying, Luisa, please, 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 this year, please lose 20 pounds. All I'm asking you to do. And I would go back a year later for my appointment and I would have gained 40. I did exactly the opposite of what she told me. Nothing, not watching my father pass away on kidney dialysis, not the fear of watching my father-in-law go the same way, scared me enough to change my life. I was happy in the misery of being obese, of walking with a cane, and as well, where would I be today? In a wheelchair, because I would not have been able to get the surgery. I would probably have bed sores. I'd probably be bedridden or in a wheelchair. I would probably have gone blind, and I would probably be in kidney failure, hooked up to a kidney machine, because I absolutely loved carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
One of my first podcasts was called, "There Must Be a Hole in My Stomach Because I Never Get Full."
Yeah. Sometimes I feel that too, especially when I eat carbs.
The more bread I ate, the more I wanted. The one bowl of pasta became 2 bowls. As I said earlier, why was I eating a 3rd slice of humongous slab of lasagna? Because the first 2 made me even hungrier for the lasagna. Why did my husband go get me a 4th dish of lasagna? Because he knew I was going to be hungry again. So that's where I would be. I know that I would be in terrible, terrible shape.
How old were you when you first needed a cane to walk around?
I was 50.
Wow.
I was 50.
Wow.
You know, midlife, right? That's midlife.
Still young, yeah.
I remember that before my surgery, when I finally started to lose enough weight to get the surgery, my husband and I booked a trip to, we went to Mexico, Cancun. And I was embarrassed because I was put in a wheelchair, right? I was one of those people that gets preferential, treatment and gets wheeled to her seat. But instead of being delighted by that, I was ashamed. I was so ashamed. There are no pictures of me with my cane. The cane, I got to the airport. I was in incredible pain. I needed that surgery badly. I lost enough to get that surgery, not to the degree that I've lost now, but I get to the airport. They get me the wheelchair. Everybody's staring at me. In the wheelchair I go. I get wheeled past everybody. I'm red with embarrassment, right? I was just terribly, terribly embarrassed by it because I felt like a failure. I felt like everybody's eyes were on me and everybody just kept saying, oh, look at that fat lady. Wow. No wonder she's in a wheelchair, right? Felt sorry for myself. And my husband, knowing how sad I was, fed me. He just, hey, baby, here's some pizza. Because that's what he knew made me happy, right? He enabled me in a loving way, So while we were there, he catered to everything that he would bring me pizza and pasta and bread and everything that I loved. It also didn't help me though. It did not help me.
Yeah. Wow. We're going to dive deeper into that because that's very captivating. Tell us, what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
Oh my goodness. My superpower is that when someone signs up with my program, I basically will them to succeed. When they fall, I pick them up. When their mind keeps trying to go backwards, I propel them forwards. As a matter of fact, I'm not even a diet coach because I'm not. I'm a mindset coach. What I'm dealing with is severe addiction to carbohydrates. I'm dealing with trauma. People hide behind their weight for various reasons. It could be a sexual assault when they were a child. And so the layer of weight, the layer of fat protects them from the glances of the opposite sex, right? I'm dealing with there's a lot of reasons why people get big, why people give up on themselves, why people just accept, I'm on my way to an early death. And so I can tell you that one of my most challenging clients was severely depressed. And every step forward, he would get scared. He would lose 5 pounds. And then that weekend, he would text me and say, I'm nose deep into coconut cream pie and I can't stop eating Debbie cakes. Every success, he would go backwards. But you know what? 6 months later, and he wanted to quit so many times. He would say, I can't do this anymore, Luisa. I want out. And I said, oh no, I'm not letting you off the hook. He's lost 58 pounds. He's under 200, which was his goal.
Wow.
And a month ago, he called me and he was freaking out because his doctor said, I'm taking you off diabetic medication.
Wow.
Boom. He was one of my toughest.
Life change, family change, marriage change, saved, new life.
He was my toughest because he kept regressing. It was like one step forward and he would go back 3. He would want out of the program. He would want to quit.
Did he have a strong enough why?
No, he's single. He's a single person. Okay. But I lifted him up. I mean, the testimonial I've received from him is just amazing and he goes on Facebook now all the time, will tag me and just sing my glory, right? I don't even ask him.
And now that he's back in shape, he lost all his weight. He's able to attract women of his dream now.
Absolutely. And not just that, but he's able to keep up with his nephews and his nieces.
How old
he's
is
not
he?
Sitting. I'm not quite sure. I because I don't ask the personal. I don't.
It doesn't matter.
He calls me young lady, but I think I'm older than him. But it's just that it's just so hard. Because you go forwards, you go backwards, and I've had many, many, many like that. As a matter of fact, one person who has cancer, and I'm getting a fair bit of people now coming to me with cancer because. I also can now help. I've designed a whole program around cancer. It's a cancer fighting meal plan and lifestyle. Is that I'll tell you what happened with this one. I tell him how to eat and he has to give up. There are foods you need to give up in my method. And they're the higher carb foods. You're not eliminating carbs. You're swapping out high carb foods for lower ones. That's what you're doing. So one of the things that I told this gentleman is you're not going to be able to eat cereal. You're not going to be able to eat your Pop-Tarts. You're not going to be able to eat some of the sweeter things that you grew up eating in the morning. Now, this man is fighting cancer. And at the end of it, he said to me, well, I don't want to give up my cereal, my Pop-Tarts. And Lorenzo, I went right up to the screen and I said, what you're telling me is that a bowl of cereal and a Pop-Tart is more important than your life? Is that what you're telling me? I got to say that 3 weeks later, his wife called me and she said, he hasn't touched a Pop-Tart or a bowl of cereal since you spoke to him. So sometimes it's not tough love, but it's telling the truth.
It's what we need.
And bringing forward something they may not be seeing that they're doing. Because what we're accustomed to is safer than the unknown, right? And it's that fear of, will I be able to do this? Can I do this? I lived like that. I can't do it. I would admire, I would look at magazines. Oh my God, look at this lady. She lost 50 pounds. God bless her. I wish I could do that. I can't. And I would say, honey, can I have a bowl of cereal with milk peas? Big one, big bowl, not little. You know, the defeat. The negative talk that we give ourselves.
Absolutely. Wow. We're going to talk about that as well in a moment.
Yes.
That's one of the sections we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Now, let's move forward. You enjoy traveling, right?
I do. I do.
But I'm going to take you down a different type of traveling, not,
Right.
down memory line.
Yeah.
Go back to when you were, you know, when we kids growing up, people around us, family, relatives, teachers, friends, neighbors ask us, Luisa, what do you want to become when you grow up? What does your answer as a little girl to that question?
I wanted to be a teacher.
Wow.
And you know what? I now am. I now am.
Oh, yes.
I'm teaching. I'm imparting the knowledge I have on how I solved my problem, and I am teaching others. So I did not become a teacher, actually, but I ended up in the tech industry, working at Cisco, at Nortel Networks, Bell Canada. I was in the IT industry. But I was always in the teaching. I was always drawn to
trainer, teacher.
I would train. I was always training others. I was also a volunteer trainer, a volunteer. I've been a volunteer coordinator for a number of different organizations. And I was very good at inspiring volunteers to go out there and knock on doors or make phone calls to raise money for whatever cause. You know, I had the patience to get them to, you know, to do things that they were maybe not enthusiastic about doing. It's hard to call people and say, would you like to donate, you know, some money towards this organization?
Yeah.
But I made it fun. I've always been, I never realized it. I thought I was a serious person. I actually have a good sense of humor, you know.
You do?
Yeah, you know,
of
and
course
so,
you do. Yeah.
So I realized that throughout life, I've been just a natural teacher. If someone didn't understand something, even in my workplace, and I wasn't a teacher, I'd say, hey, come to my desk or come to my office and I'll review this with you. And I won't move on until I see the light bulb go off in their eye. I'll repeat myself. Did you get that? Do you get where I'm coming from? Does that make sense? And once they nod their head and I know that they've picked up that particular step, then I'll move to the next step.
What is more natural to you, the teaching part or the helping part?
The teaching or the helping?
Yes, helping someone, you know.
I think that by teaching, you are helping, you see.
Yes, yes, yes.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Teaching is helping. Helping is
process.
teaching.
Yes, yes.
Right? The whole process, I'm helping people by teaching them. I'm teaching them. Here's how you heal yourself, right? And it's my compassion. It's absolutely understanding. Listen, I may have sounded harsh when I said to that individual, hey, are you telling me that eating a bowl of cereal is more important than your life? It came from a place of care. You're fighting cancer, sir. And I'm telling you that doing this is going to save your life. because cancer cells love sugar, you see.
That's the food, yeah, the blood, yeah. Yeah, wow.
Cancer cells, picture them. You remember the game Pac-Man?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Pac-Man? And he used to gobble all those little dots that you were eating in that maze. Picture cancer as the Pac-Man, and picture those dots, all the sugar you eat when you have cancer. And to demonstrate my point, I have two other clients that have cancer, and they were clients of mine. One was a client of mine before she was diagnosed, and she had started to eat the KCKO method. And the doctor, when she was diagnosed, said to her, I want you off sugar immediately. I don't want you eating any bread. And she said, I'm already with a coach who does that. And he said, thank God. The other one who has breast cancer, I've been chasing her for several years because, she needed to lose weight. She was quite overweight. And then when she told me that she had breast cancer, I said, I'm not asking you to come into my program. I'm forcing you into my program. You are doing my program, whether you like it or not. I'm giving you a week, and then you're coming into my program. And she thanks me every day for pushing her to enter into my program, because she's kicking cancer to the curb. Her doctors were actually amazed, because typically when you go in to get chemo for breast cancer, they told her you're going to be lethargic, you're going to be very tired, you're actually going to bloat up, you're going to have inflammation, and you're going to gain weight. You're going to have to take time off work. Well, guess what? This particular client, as she's battling cancer, energy to boot, would come off those chemo sessions, would recover in a day or two, back at work. And she's lost 35 pounds instead of gaining it. And she did not have bloating, and she did not have inflammation. The doctors were absolutely in awe that she did everything opposite to what they said would happen to her. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Wow, what an incredible, inspiring story.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into that in a moment, because there's so much, and I have a feeling that me and you will, this is just part one.
Oh, we're gonna have like part 1 of 12 series or something.
12,
Like
a million. We can do
Yeah.
me and you an entire podcast, me and you.
All right.
So tell us, growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
I was the quietest little bookworm who sat there, and my report card, first of all, growing up Italian Canadian, Italian was spoken in the house. So I ended up in kindergarten speaking no English. So the kindergarten report card said, very shy child, doesn't speak English, sits and daydreams all day. But I don't know what happened. By grade 2, the report card says, she has such a command of the English language. All she does is sit in the library all day long and read book after book after book after book. She's a pleasure to listen to the point where I was in grade 6 at a university level, and I can read 100 pages an hour. I love reading. If they asked me what you would take out of your house if there was a fire, I would take my laptop and I would take my books. As many books as I could carry. So as a child in school, I actually, in grade 4, the report card said she's read every book in the library.
Wow.
In the school library. So I had to go get books from the library, the public library, because I had read every book in the school library.
That was me too, back then.
Yeah.
Growing up, you can find me in 2 places, either on the football pitch playing football or at the library.
Yep. I will read anything back to back. No matter how big or small the book is, I will complete it to the end. As a matter of fact, I have poor eyesight because of this problem.
Same.
Not a problem. My enthusiasm of reading, I read so much that I would read in my bed, my bedroom, and my mother would say 10 o'clock, lights out. So that's how I learned how to speed read. I did not take a course, but my mother's threat, and I wanted to finish that book. I started to speed read. So of course, sometimes because it was a big book, lots of pages, she would turn off the light. So then I started reading by candlelight. but then I burnt the blanket. So she took my candles away. So then I read by flashlight, but she discovered it and took it away.
Oh,
And then at the end, I started reading by, my bed was by the window and I lived on a busy street, right? It had a bus service. It was a busy street. And I read by streetlight.
wow. Now that is commitment,
So
dedication.
I had to finish that book, even if it was 800 pages, right? So I now have very poor eyesight. I am 22,500.
Wow.
Not 2020. I'm 22,500. Yeah. I'm legally blind without glasses.
Holy, wow.
And
Wow.
I can only see 5 inches in front of me. So you can imagine with diabetes,
Oh, yes.
right? I already have. I can only see 5 inches in front of me. When my glasses are off my face, if they fall, I have to actually yell for my husband or my kids. And I'm like, help, my glasses fell and I can't see them on the floor. And I have stepped on them. So they will come and they'll be like, Mom, it's right in front of you. I go, I know, but I cannot see them. And they'll pick them up and give them to me. So that's how poor my eyesight is. And imagine if I had to continue to be a diabetic, how quickly I would have lost
Oh, yeah, it would have been a
little
disaster.
vision.
Yeah.
I was actually rejected even for laser surgery. They
Really?
said no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 6 years ago, my husband sent me to, the laser clinic, Christmas. He said, oh, this is going to be my gift. My wife, she's going to be
Mm.
free of glasses. And after 6 hours of testing them, they said, I'm sorry, we can't do it. Your eyesight is too horrible to do it. No correction. So it's okay. But when I was obese, Payman, I used glasses as my fashion statement because I couldn't fit into beautiful clothes. I bought lots of glasses and lots
Collection.
of shoes.
Collection.
At least 2 things that I could fit into, right? So, I ended up having a number of different pairs of glasses, and that was my way of styling myself because all I ever wore was big black tents, big loose, and at least I had red glasses and blue glasses, and that was my way of, participating in fashion, looking fashionable, right?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So growing up when you were going to school, what was your favorite subject and what was your least favorite subject?
I love dinosaurs. Oh my God. I really got heavily. See, here's the thing with me. And it's true even with my knowledge of diabetes. When I'm not interested in something, I'm quite ignorant about it. Like to the point where I know absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't interest you. Yeah.
Yeah. But once I set my sights on something I'm very interested in, well, then I have to know everything. And I got heavily into dinosaurs, drawing them, painting them, reading every book there was. I became an expert. And then I also got into Chinese cooking.
Oh, wow.
The art of Chinese cooking, hanging out in Chinatown, going home with my Chinese friends and asking their grandmas to teach me how to cook authentic Chinese food. I became obsessed with perfecting not the kind of food that's served in Chinese restaurants.
That's not Chinese food.
Right. Real Chinese food. So I'm the type of person that once I hook onto something, I want to know everything. And that ended up being when I finally got the diabetes, I had to know everything about diabetes. And then I become an expert, right? You go from knowing nothing, right, to knowing as much as I can.
To becoming an expert. Yeah.
Right. And of course, my love of reading. What I disliked in school was the fact that I was shy, awkward, picked on, a fatty. I remember being embarrassed in grade 7 because, us girls started to get shapes of a woman, right? And the bullies would come and like lift my top up and show my bra,
Really? Wow, that's mean.
Yeah, it is mean. What are you going to do? And I was too shy and awkward to fight back, silly things that kids do.
Yeah.
Making fun of my big Italian greasy sandwiches, they were eating little sandwiches of cheese with butter and cucumbers. And I had this humongous half a loaf of bread with veal cutlets, fried veal cutlets and greens dripping in olive oil, right? And it was quite embarrassing, and cheese wrapped up. I mean, I had a whole feast there, an Italian feast. Even lasagna was put into, they didn't have Tupperware back then. It was wrapped in wax paper and then foil paper and then saran wrap. I mean, that's the kind of lunches that I went to school eating.
Yeah,
And, and I was picked on for it, right? Because holy,
sure.
look at her. Hey, look at the food. But they were actually salivating over my food,
I'm
right?
sure. I'm sure. Yeah, the
So I
smell.
didn't like that part, being bullied. I was quite timid and shy. And of course, when you're obese and overweight and all the girls are so pretty, it compounds
Oh yeah.
your shy.
And girls in school, especially in that age, it can be extremely
Yeah.
mean. Girls and boys.
Yeah.
Boys and girls, yeah.
My dad allowed me actually to go to music camp because I played violin. And I
Oh wow.
remember I was the last, nobody wanted me on their baseball team. Like,
Wow.
I cried in my cabin all night because nobody
Sure.
wanted me. They also didn't want me because I'm left-handed and I catch and throw with the same hand. So
Yeah.
I would have been a very bad, like, baseball. I catch the ball, then I have to transfer it to the ungloved, shake the glove off, pick it up, and then throw it back. Well, that takes
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of time.
Talk
But I
about.
was also, and I was awkward. I'm not athletic. I am not athletic. As a
Of
matter of
course, when
fact,
you're not when you're obese,
yeah.
it's not easy. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I did finish third in a race once because there was only 3 people in it. I got the third place ribbon. I think the teacher felt really sorry and put me in a 3-man race, and I came in third so that I qualified for a ribbon. I went home and showed my parents, and they were even like, "Wow, how did you do that?" I didn't tell them that there was only 3 people, because they knew how awkward and how I was so
Yeah.
non-athletic,
Mhm.
So that's what I didn't like. That's what I didn't like.
What
You
was
know?
your very first job? And do you remember how much you got paid the first time you did work?
Yes, my very first job was I worked for a place that was called Kresge's. It was like a Walmart.
Mm.
Woolworths, Kresge's. They were the harbinger to Walmart. They were a Walmart type store.
Before
They
Walmart.
sold,
Okay.
yeah, and they had a diner. They actually had a diner, and it was in the Maltese part of town. It was at Keele and Runnymede area in
Mhm.
Toronto. That was my girlfriend was the short order cook at the diner, where they made grilled cheese sandwiches, and it was like Kmart. Kmart, Kmart?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kmart, Kresge's,
Oh yeah.
Zellers, that
Zealous.
kind of a
Yeah.
store. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was set up like Zellers with a little diner, and I would go there and my friend would slip me grilled cheese sandwiches, and I didn't have to pay her. I gave her $1, right? And I folded clothes and I did inventory, and then I graduated to become a cashier, right? And then I became the head cashier, and then I taught the other cashiers. So that was my first job. And I put on more weight because my friend was the short order cook at the diner, you see. And so I would always hang around at the diner, and she'd give me like food. I was always around food, right? And then my second job was working concession stands, selling hot dogs, hamburgers, and Cokes and all pretzels at a stadium that no longer is around, at the exhibition stadium where concerts were held,
Yeah.
right? So what did I do? I would sell a hot dog, eat a hot dog, right?
For them, one for me.
Yeah, I couldn't even fit into the uniform, Payman. I couldn't even fit.
Yeah.
I had to go buy stretchy pants because I couldn't fit into the uniform. I worked all the concerts. I got to watch Bob Seger. I got to watch Pink Floyd and all the bands, the Cars, Queen. It was
Really?
awesome.
Wow, that's my favorite group.
Well, because when you worked at the concession stands, if you had the luck, one stayed open all night, but all the other ones around the stadium would all close once the concert started. And then you would be told, go fill an empty seat and enjoy the concert.
Really?
It was fun.
Wow.
But of course, what I did is I hoarded. Remember how I told you in childhood, I hoarded food? So I made a little cachet, and I had a little box bag full of like maybe 10 hot dogs, 5 hamburgers,
Wow.
sodas,
Was it just
popcorn,
for you or you and your
pretzels.
friends?
No, me. I had no friends.
Wow.
I didn't have any friends.
Wow.
And plus you had to fill the seat. So it could be a lone seat in the middle of a sea of concert goers, right? They would just tell you, go see if there's any empty seats, take one. So you couldn't really sit next to somebody that you knew anyway. But yeah, I ate my way through all those concerts. Big time.
So
You know,
since
and
you love food that much, do you ever consider going into the food business, open a restaurant or anything? Especially
yeah, I mean, you know, like my happiest thing is having people come over. We're having people come over actually this weekend. And so I'm making mussels in white wine sauce. I'm making shrimp in a lovely tomato wine sauce. I'm making pasta with tuna. I'm making some lobster. I'm going to make some keto crab cakes, and I'm going to have some of that tuna pasta, but I have my low carb, zero carb pasta that I'll use. The guests get the pasta and I get my pasta, right? So, yes, I mean, I've always loved food. And now what I do, instead of opening a restaurant, I do a lot of TikTok and Facebook videos of me cooking.
You know,
and it's my way of, right? Sorry, go ahead.
When I come back to Toronto, I can't wait to try your food.
Oh, well, I have to tell you that it's good. It is good because I can make it. The one thing that I think I took from my mother was a very savory cooker. She cooked well, and she cooked so that it was tasty. The food is tasty, right?
Yes.
Tonight I didn't cook. She made chicken wings in the air fryer. Delicious. Just the right amount of saltiness, just delicious. And we had a tomato salad, and we had green beans with it. And what else did we have with it? Oh, red cabbage salad. Lovely, right? Yeah. All in my KCKO method, by the way, right? So
we'll definitely talk about that in a moment. Yeah.
So
wow, amazing. So So when you were in high school and in university, were you popular with the boys?
Absolutely not. What happened is I became a rock and roller. I could hide my girth and my overweightness by wearing a lumber jacket, construction boots, and what do they call it? A mullet.
Really?
I wore a mullet, you see.
Wow.
I wore a mullet because I wanted to be one of the guys, right? I was able to hide my overweight body by wearing this oversized lumber jacket, right? So I became a rock and roller, you know, and that way I was able to hide in the clothing that was masculine.
You could pull that off when in the cold months, but what were you doing in the warmer months, in the summer, for example?
Sorry, Payman, but if you grew up as a rock and roller, summer does not bar you from wearing your lumber jacket and construction boots.
Even when it's plus 40 outside and all that?
Yeah, well, you tie it around your waist, but you still use it, you know, with a tank top, right?
Yeah, wow.
But having said that, I did lean out a little when I went into my Madonna phase, when I went into my disco diva phase, where my hair was teased. You know, I got into the mini skirts. To get into a mini skirt, I had to lose weight. So remember how I talked about cycling, the weight loss? I would go on drastic diets. Hey, you know, my friends would say, let's go to the club. Let's go to the club and dance. Okay. So I had to lose the 10 pounds in like 3 days. So it was like starvation, right?
Wow.
You can do it when you're young, your metabolism. Yeah, you can do it.
That's
right?
fast.
But you know, I started to lean out because I started to want to be liked, and I did have friends who liked to go clubbing and go to the disco places, right? My dad was a fashionista. My mom was a seamstress. So I began to design my own clothing, and you know, girls would come up to me and say, "Oh my God, that's such a cool outfit. Where did you get it?" And I would say, "I designed it. I made it." And they would say, make one for me. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to make it for you. No,
You
I
think of,
barely was able to. No, this is a one of a kind just for me. And it's designed for my body and it's hiding all my bits and pieces I don't want showing. Right. Because
do
I
you think
became
of,
adept. Yeah.
did
Sorry.
you
Go
think
ahead.
of, did you think of starting a little business and selling it to them?
Oh, actually, I did. I designed jewelry growing up and I used to sell it at the boutiques. So, I never knew this, but I was very creative, sewing my own clothes, designing, but I designed them because I needed to hide parts of my body. I wanted to be fashionable, yet because my mother taught me how to sew, because she was a seamstress, right? She actually did alterations for Gianni Versace boutique.
Wow.
Like very expensive clothing. She was a very good seamstress, and she worked in the factories, right? In Spadina. She was altering wedding dresses and beautiful outfits. So she taught me how to sew, and I learned I can make a pattern without using a pattern. So I can see something and make it for myself, right?
Beautiful.
So I am a woman of many talents. You're making me really go through
Yeah,
memory lane.
absolutely. I love that. How did
So
you?
yeah, but it was designed always to hide what I didn't want to.
Wow.
I would lose the weight, but I was always a little chubby, right?
Mm.
There was always a bit of chubbiness there.
How did you meet your husband?
Oh my goodness, that is a love of this. I could write a book. Okay.
Please do.
Okay. Boy, yeah, this is going to blow your mind. If my weight loss and diabetes doesn't blow your mind, the way my husband and I fell in love will blow your mind.
How
I
did
was
you meet
looking
him?
good.
Yeah.
So listen, I was at a club downtown, and my husband didn't really like clubs, but they had just played some pickup hockey. They went, showered, got their suits on, and they were standing there. And my husband said, oh, I don't want to go in that club. I want to go in that one, because he liked 50s music and he wanted to go to the other club where there was 50s. He likes Elvis. My club was more contemporary, but his friends said, let's go in this one. And my husband said, now I was there celebrating a girlfriend's birthday and I was dancing and I was looking good. I was one of those years where I had actually lost some weight and I was looking quite nice. And my husband walked in and he said, he stared at me and he said to his friend, that's my wife.
Whoa.
I'm gonna marry that girl. And his wife and his friend was like, oh yeah, okay, right. And then the whole night, I'm dancing and there's this man with a drink just staring at me.
So who made the first move?
I would go to the bathroom. I come out of the bathroom. There he is leaning against the wall. Hello. He was scaring the crap out of me. I thought he was this scary man that was stalking me. I'd come out of the bathroom. There he was. I'm up on the dance floor. There he was. I'm at the bar ordering a drink. There he is next to me. Right. And he was staring. He couldn't take his eyes off me. So after 2 hours, and last call was 1:45. He waits until 1:45, 1:45. And he comes up to me and he says, I don't know if you noticed, but I was like, looking at you.
Just a little bit,
And because I was telling one friend, there's this weird guy. And she was like, what weird guy? Because they couldn't tell. He was doing it only to me. Like no one else knew that he was. So he says, I don't know if you noticed, but I really would like to take you out. And I had just broken up an engagement. I had been engaged to get married with a man who was going to end up being abusive. I left him 6 months before the wedding because he tried to hit me, right?
Oh, no.
So I was on I am never getting married. I don't want to go out with anybody anymore. I want to be a single independent woman. Thank you very much. And my husband looks like Tony Soprano. All right. He had the mustache down to here, salt and pepper hair. He had a turtleneck and a double-breasted blazer.
Is he Italian too?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
And he looked tough and he looked like he was going to beat the crap out of me. He looks like a very scary guy.
He made you an offer you couldn't refuse, basically.
Well, no, I refused him when he said to me, I would like to take you out on a date. I said, no, thank you. And I tried to take off. And he said to me, I had already married you. I had seen you in a white dress walking down.
He said that?
No, he told me later. But when I said no to him, he told me his mind was like, what? I've already married you. You can't say no. So he didn't say that to me. I just said, no, I'm not interested. Thank you very much. Okay, I got to go now. And he just said, wait, please. I just want to take you out. I'm a really nice guy. Please just give me your number. And his voice, his tone was lovely. Like he was really being sincere and saying, please just give me a chance. And when I went to write the phone number, my club name was Lola, and I used to give out fake numbers, right? I was going to try to blow him off, but when I went to write down the phone number on his cigarette pack, he said, give me your real number.
Whoa. Oh,
right?
okay.
And I did. Anyway, long story short, we were engaged in 3 weeks, married in a year.
Wow.
He called me every night, Heyman. He couldn't stop calling me. He was a car salesman at the time, and his friend, who was the manager, said the guy didn't sell a car for 3 months. All he did was sit there writing your name. He kept writing my name and his last name. He stopped selling cars. He sat there daydreaming, right? And our first date, he just turned to me and he said, what kind of house do you want to live in? I'm going to marry you. You're going to marry me. That's it.
You said that on the first date.
And he scared me then. But then within 3 weeks, I said yes.
So when he said
He
that,
was just,
did you freak out? Did you want to just leave?
yeah, I was like, okay, you're going to, yeah, whoa, right?
Slow
So,
down, Stallion. Yeah.
yeah, no, but he was just, he would call me and his friends were like, you're giving away. Come on, like be a man, like stop calling her night and day. Don't let her know you like her that much. And he was like, I don't care. He wanted to shout it from the rooftops. And he actually lost a lot of friends because he had been with someone for 11 years.
Dating?
And they were on a break. They used to break, like high school sweethearts, right?
Ah,
11 years. They started dating when he was 17 and she was 16. You know what I mean? Like, and they would break up and then they would get back together and then they would break up and they were on a break. So when he announced, he brings me home to his family, who was only ever used to the other girl, she's been in, going to the house since she was like 16. And he says, this is my fiance, we're getting married. They're like, wow. And then his best friends were all like, what are you doing? Who is this girl? You were with so-and-so up until a month ago. And then she even tried to come back. When she heard that he was engaged to be married, in 3 weeks, we got engaged in 3 weeks. She called him and said, I thought we were just on a break. I always thought we would get, end up together. And he said, what she's given me in 3 weeks, you did not give me in 11 years.
wow. Talk about a blow.
And when he asked me to marry him, he had already gone to my house behind my back, asked my father for my hand in marriage.
Really?
He had gone to my church parish. He talked to the priest and booked the church for the 25th of September of that year. He had already booked the hall. Everything was in place. I just had to say yes. So when he came to my house, like he did every day, and then he said, let's go look, show me your parish, show me your church. We went there and he got down on his knee, right? And he said, will you marry me? And I said, yes. He said, great. I already talked to your dad. He gave me his permission. I already talked to your priest. We're getting married September 25th. And I already booked the hall. All you got to do, baby, is show up.
What was in your mind at that moment? You want to just, what is this guy? Is it crazy? Go out? Did you freak out? Or you say, wow, that's amazing?
Payment. His undying love and worship of me has never wavered.
Wow.
Never.
So you guys are more than just, husband and wife. You're like soulmates, twin flames, and whatever else you want to call it.
Listen, through thick and thin, like I said, when I got married, we both plumped up. Oh my God. Right?
Yeah,
we
Italian
both
families, absolutely. Yeah.
I had a new man I could cook for. I was cooking 5-course meals every night. He was coming home. I had penne alla vodka, and then the second course was veal piccata, and then I would have a charcuterie boards. I was making desserts. We were eating, and I was so happy cooking. And I didn't cook just for 2 people. I used to have to call my sisters because I had so much left over, right? I was just so happy to cook for someone, and he was happy to eat it.
Sure.
And we became bigger and bigger and bigger. And never once did he ever make me feel undesirable.
Mm.
Never when his family or my family would say, oh my God, look at her, she's a cow. And
Wow.
he would just, oh yeah, well, they mean well, family, right? You
Sure,
know,
sure, sure. Tough love,
I
yeah.
mean, tough love, like Lou, you're so beautiful. Look at you. Look at your picture of your wedding. Look what happened to you, right?
Yeah.
And he would always defend me. Leave her alone. His mother and his sister, we go for dinner on Sunday, the 1 o'clock, remember? The 1 o'clock sauce, right? And he would sit there just staring at me. And his mother
Wow.
would say, you've been married 10 years. You look at her like you've never seen her. And he still looks at me to this day. Like my kids are like, Dad, wow.
That's phenomenal. That's beautiful. Gives me
I'm
goosebumps.
very
Yeah.
lucky, Cayman, because I actually, after that broken engagement, which I was supposed to be married in 6 months, I broke it off. I gave back the ring and everything.
Wasn't meant to be.
I had decided that I was never, ever going to get married. And 6 months later, I was engaged.
What was in your husband? His name is Vince, right?
Yeah.
That made you change your mind of going from no, I'm not getting married to hey, this is
his absolute devotion to just
Mm,
me. From the minute he set eyes on me, he said he could think of nothing but me. To this day, like right now, he'll text me because it's 10 past 11. He hasn't seen me all day. I've been on Zoom calls after Zoom call, and he'll just be like, hey babe, just remember I love you.
oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, he will call me from his workplace and he'll put the phone up to the radio and it's playing a romantic song that we both love.
Oh,
Or he'll call me and start singing one of our love songs and then hang up.
mm,
He has never stopped doing this we're going to be celebrating 30 years of marriage this September.
phenomenal.
And
Wow.
he will tell people that he feels like he's still just dating me.
Yeah. Wow. Phenomenal. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. This is the kind of
It's
love
quite
story.
the love story. It's quite the love, and people love hearing it. We were on a podcast. We were invited on a podcast, a woman in Florida
Both of
who,
you?
and he joined me, and she was just enthralled with our love story.
I
It
would
got a lot of
love
hits.
I would
Yeah.
love to have in a future episode both of you to his side of the story, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he tells it, people say, oh, she's embellishing. No, I've told people the story, and then when they meet Vince, they're like, wow, he says it exactly the way she says it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And it's like we knew each other, like Payman, that's why, and just like how you and I have hit it off, right?
Sold.
We've been talking almost like every week as though we've known each other for all
2 hours.
our life.
Yeah, 2 hours. That's why I book my
It
morning.
just,
I don't book any other calls whenever I know I have a call with Luisa because I know it's gonna be it's gonna be a marathon.
and it's just, you meet these people in life that you just click with because
Mhm.
Payman, somehow we knew each other in a former life.
Absolutely. It has to be.
My husband and I must have known each other in a former
Yeah,
life.
the way you said in the
Right.
beginning, him staring at the club in his mind saying, oh, you already saw
Yeah.
it. Oh, I'm gonna marry
Yeah.
this woman. So and all that. Now it can only
Yeah.
be explained by that. Twin flames,
Yeah.
soulmates,
How
soul
could he know?
contracts.
How could he know that? How could he? And Ed was at our wedding. Ed, the guy he came with to the bar, the guy that he gave his drink to and said, hold my drink, I'm going to talk to my destiny.
Wow. Date was
Ed was
destiny.
he was at our wedding. He was like, wow, I can't believe it. So, anything's possible. And again, it's mindset. Imagine, I was giving him the go away from me vibes, right? He knew it. So imagine if he hadn't taken that brave step of going and talking to that woman that he'd been staring at, right? But what got me in the end, Payman, is that he was so sincere and just saying, I'm a nice guy. Just give me the opportunity to take you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something in the way he said it, his soul, his eyes, came through. It came through. And when he said, give me your real phone number, because the girls of the day, we used to always give fake numbers.
Oh yeah. Still do. Doesn't change.
You know,
Wow.
and so that's basically what happened. And he has been my biggest supporter, Payman.
Oh, I can imagine.
Biggest supporter.
Especially
Doing what
when you said that even when you're at your,
Yeah.
biggest,
Yeah. Yeah.
he always loved you. He never said anything. He would
No,
give an
no.
extra serving of lasagna and all that,
No, he would go up and get me more food. The more people my second podcast appearance was entitled, "The More They Fat Shamed Me, the More Food I Shoved in My Mouth."
Mm.
I could say with the help of my husband, because he would feel so bad when people would gang up on me, right? Oh, Louisa, oh my God, another plate of spaghetti. Oh, and now some garlic bread too. Vince, help her, do something. Well, he would go up and get me more garlic bread and more pasta to make me feel better, right? He would always say, leave her alone. I love her and she's beautiful. So in a way, he did enable me though, but it's not, look, I had a friend who's turned to him and said, why do you allow her to look like that? And he said,
go ahead.
yeah, no, I want to hear what you're going to say.
No, I want to see what he said.
And Vince just said, I don't see what you see. I see my beautiful wife. And if eating more garlic bread or eating more French fries makes her happy, it makes me happy.
Absolutely. The way I see it is that, you're an awakened soul. You understand life is a school. We come here to learn lessons and grow. We choose what we want to learn in this school, in this life. Just like, for example, in your high school, you meet with your course counselor before going to university. He or she sits down with this, okay, Luisa, congratulations, you're about to graduate. What do you want to study? What do you want to learn? What do you want to become? Which school do you want to go to? Which university? Same thing before we born, we sit down with spiritual guide. Okay, what do you want to master? What lesson do you want to master in this life? And based on that, you choose the people that you want to play the key roles in your life. You wanted to become, you wanted to probably, I don't know, master self-love and helping and teaching. And to that, you wanted to, get obese yourself and then solve this problem. So your husband's role was not only to love you unconditionally, help you on your path of, of blowing up, helping you so that you can get to the point to say enough is enough, because you cannot force someone to do something. That's the worst thing to do. Let them get to that point. He was there to help you in his way, to get to the point of that you would be disgusted with yourself, because he could not force you, but help you get there with love and care. And once you get there, you made the change to change first your life and then help him.
I did. I had to,
and then
we'll talk about that.
Change the world. So do you see it that way too, that you guys are here?
Well, yes, like I said earlier, I'm grateful. I'm actually grateful to God that I got diabetes, because it was the catalyst that changed my life.
Yes.
Right. It changed my life. I would have happily been 500 pounds in a wheelchair if diabetes hadn't come and scared the crap out of me. Right. It took that to get me to take action.
So what was the moment? Was it a specific moment that you said, screw that, I'm done, I have to change? Or was it something?
Well, I'd like to address that.
Yeah.
But before we move forward, I want to say something to the women out there that may be listening and the men. I was lucky that I had a husband who loved me, who didn't put me down for my obesity. I want to address the elephant in the room. 90% of spouses, male and female, because you can have women that have obese husbands, are not like my husband.
Sure.
Many of my clients come with body shame. A husband who doesn't want to sleep with them because he's disgusted, right? A husband who criticizes and makes fun of her weight. So, and even men whose wives are disappointed in their, big tummy and the fact that they can't lose that, we call it the beer belly, right? So I was uniquely blessed in having a husband who never made me feel ashamed. But there are many, many people suffering right now. And I want to just address that in this podcast that for any man who's overweight and the wife is disappointed in you, or any woman that's overweight and your husband's disappointed in you, it is damaging their self-love and their self-worth.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
I just wanted to, before we moved on to what was the catalyst that made me change, certainly it wasn't my husband. And one of my friends said to, my husband, why don't you, you shouldn't let her. I'm not her boss. I don't control my wife. She does what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control, like you said earlier, he couldn't control me if I wanted to have another slab after slab of pizza. I love pizza, slice after slice. So it was not on him, Payman. It was on me to change my life. What was it that did it for me, Payman? Well, after gaining weight through my whole entire marriage, gaining weight after giving birth to 2 children, after watching my father, who was a diabetic for the latter part of his life for at least 25 years, after watching my father go from 1 pill to insulin, to 5 pills, to 10 pills, to 20 pills, to seeing him end up on dialysis with yellow eyes and a machine cleaning him out and dying from complications, that didn't scare me. I didn't change then either, by the way. After watching my father-in-law also go through the kidney dialysis, a diabetic for life, never eating according to a diabetic lifestyle, and watching him pass away from complications, that didn't scare me either. You would think. 2 people I loved, both pass away from the disease that I have, but I wasn't a diabetic yet. I was just obese. And then not even when I was pregnant with our first child, my husband became a diabetic, and I watched his intake of pills increase from, my daughter was born 25 years ago. He was put on 4 pills. 4 pills became 8, 8 became 16. And my husband was up to 18 pills. That didn't scare me either, Payman. None of it did, because like most people, I was in this thing of denial. Even though my doctor kept saying, Luisa, you were gestational diabetic. So women get gestational diabetes. It just means that once the baby's born, the diabetes goes away. It's a very unusual.
Really?
It's just, wow. It does. It's called gestational, meaning during the gestational period when you're pregnant, you're a diabetic. But as soon as you give birth to the baby, it's gone. But it is an indication that you might get it later on in life. And compounding that is that my father was a diabetic. So the likelihood of me becoming one was higher than most people. So even though my doctor warned me after the passing of my father and my father-in-law, in one ear out the other, right? And it's not going to happen to me. And then I'd go and get myself 12 Krispy Kreme donuts filled with cream and eat them all. I loved Krispy Kreme donuts. Mm-hmm. So what did it? Because nothing seemed to get through to me. And most people, again, I'm talking to your listeners. I see you. I see you. You're sitting there thinking, tomorrow I'll start. But in the meantime, let me order an extra large pizza and eat as many slices as I can. My doctor warned me today that I might get high blood pressure, but I didn't have blood pressure today, so I'm good, right? Because you don't have it, I'm good. And that's what I was thinking. Every time she kept saying, well, no, you're not a diabetic yet. That's all I heard. I'm not a diabetic.
Yet.
I forgot the word yet when she would say it. I would just hear, you're not a diabetic. Wow. So what did it for me was when I hobbled in there, she had told me I had weighed under 200 pounds at my last visit. And I needed the hip surgery, and she begged me to lose weight. And she gave me the diet plan that she always gave me. And I, as always, promised her that I would follow her diet plan, which was cut the fat, cut the quantities, watch your, fat intake, count your calories, right? I went back and I was 320 pounds. The last visit a year before, I was under 200. I was under 200, 299, right? And I went and she weighed me, and I had hobbled in with my cane, and she says, you're 320 pounds. And by the way, your blood test, because you always go for your blood tests when urine tests. And by the way, you're now a full-blown diabetic. You're going on metformin. And you know what I said? How did that happen?
Ah,
Denial again. I'm sure she wanted to hit me. I'm sure she wanted to
absolutely.
just
I would
slap
say,
me.
what are you talking about? Yeah, yeah.
Because I looked at her like, well, how did that happen? And she must have been like, oh my God. Right? And I'm telling you, many doctors will attest that many patients are like that. Stubborn, in denial. Are you sure I'm diabetic, doc? Yes. Your
Share
blood
this my
sugars are.
report, not someone else's report.
Yeah. And then she puts me
Wow.
on metformin. And then I go home and I'm looking at my husband who's taking his 8 nighttime pills because he was at 18 pills, 10 through the day and then 8 at night. And I'm like, well, I joined the club. I have to take pills too now, right? And we both sat down and I went and got a tub of ice cream and some cookies. And he got a big pasta bowl and he poured almost the whole box of cereal in there. And it didn't make an impact at all. But I started to think, because the metformin can upset your stomach, you know, going on pills when you've never been on pills. And what happened is I started to Google, do I have to take metformin? What is it that, remember I told you earlier, I've become obsessed with knowing everything.
Mm.
Now that I had become a diabetic, I needed to know everything, right? So I started to, can I reverse type 2 diabetes? Can I get rid of it? Is it possible? And all roads pointed to a lifestyle that I didn't want to embrace, because Google kept saying, yeah, you can get off medication. You can lose a lot of weight too. And you can send this disease into remission. You just have to go and eat keto and low carb. And I would look up, what's keto and low carb? Oh, it's the elimination of high carb foods. Well, what kind of high carb foods? Oh, potatoes, pasta, rice, and bread. Well, heck, I was born with pasta in one hand and bread in the other, right? And at my
It's on
feet were
top.
the other two, right?
Yeah.
So I would do this. I would close the computer. I would like be angry because I'm like, no, there's no way I'm giving up pasta, potatoes, bread, and rice. No way. And sweets and cake and cookies and no. But then every
Potatoes
so
too.
often, yes. Yeah, potatoes are high in carbs.
Mm.
So then I continued to take the medication. I continued to eat badly. I would complain to my girlfriends who were getting really sick and tired of me. And they were like, just, can you do so? I don't want to hear you complain about your weight. Like, just do something about it. You know, because they're right. All you're doing is complain. Oh my God, I'm so fat. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do know what to do. Do it. Just do it. You know, Nike, just do it. You know, people are getting annoyed. Like you have it with it. You're a beautiful woman. Look at you. You've gone to, you know, you look terrible now.
Yeah.
And the pain in my hip was so bad, Payman, and I needed that surgery, but they wouldn't operate on me because every pound you carry on your weight on your body, it's times 3. So if you weigh 320 pounds, that's 960 pounds of pressure on that joint.
Yes. Wow.
Okay. So occasionally, every couple of weeks, I would crack open that Google again, deep dive some more. And so I finally said, okay, Google, fine. I'm going to go keto. So what I did, I had a party that weekend. Like we all say, I said, I'm going to start on Monday. Okay. Right. We always say it. That weekend, I ordered pizza. I made myself pasta. I did baked potatoes, French fries, scallop potatoes, rice balls, you know, those nice Sicilian rice balls with breading. I ate every carb, chips, cheesies, Krispy Kreme donuts. I mean, I ate and I ate and I ate till I almost got sick. At a party, I was saying goodbye to carbs, right? And then I started on the Monday.
You did start on Monday. Okay.
I did.
Beautiful.
And then the weight started melting off. It melts off.
That must have been extra fuel for you to keep going.
Yeah, I had to slow it down, Payman. I was losing too fast. Losing too fast is not good either, because then I'm a vain woman. I don't want flabby skin. I don't want my face to look haggard. And because you're seeing me, do I look like I've lost 150 pounds? No.
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 So what were you eating?
So The premise of the keto and low carb lifestyle is to eliminate high carb foods like the ones I told you and replacing them with good, whole, nutritious, fresh food. That means that I eat big quantities of fish, meat, eggs, cheese, green vegetables, berries, whipping cream, butter, olive oil, coconut cream, and heavy whipping cream and
So
ghee.
I keep hearing that, one of the trainers I go here, he says, avoid eating fruits and veggies because they have the most toxins because they're bombarded with all those toxins and all that. But I love my greens and my fruits. What do you think on that?
Well, speaking from the point of view of my KCKO method, which is, by the way, KCKO means keep calm, keto on,
Love that.
KCKO.
Yeah.
From a perspective of the keto lifestyle, vegetables are fine, but we don't eat the higher carb vegetables, which are potatoes, peas, corn, and beets, because those are all very high starchy, sugary.
Beans. Oh, wow. Things I love the most, beans
Peas.
and
No,
akin.
peas. And beans too, yes. Chickpeas, lentils, a staple of many cultural foods. You're right, yeah. But we do eat enormous quantities of vegetables that are lower carb, most of them being green. Spinach, broccoli, kale, rapini,
What about eggplant?
zucchini.
Eggplants.
Eggplant. Oh yeah, eggplant is fine. So I've become very knowledgeable. I'm now like a walking encyclopedia where I know the carb content of every food. My friends will hold something up and say, how many carbs? I'll say 25 carbs per serving, put it down, no good.
So
Right?
is there a difference between regular potatoes and sweet potatoes? Are they both the same?
Yes. A medium white potato has 33 grams of sugar. A sweet potato has 33 grams of sugar as well, but the sweet potato has 10 grams of fiber, and you always minus fiber from a food. So the sweet potato is 33 grams of sugar like the white potato, but because it has 10 grams of fiber, 33 minus 10, the sweet potato has 23 grams of sugar.
It's better to eat sweet potatoes. Okay.
But it's still, for me, it is still too high a carb. So for example, I eat not more than 20 grams of carbs per day. To put it into context, I just said a medium potato has 33 grams of carbs, just one medium potato, right?
What about
I eat less than half a potato a day of carbs.
what about the sugar that comes from fruits, natural sugar and that? Is it good or?
So in the keto and low carb lifestyle, the only fruits that we consume are berries.
Oh, okay.
Anything that ends in the word berry, strawberry, blueberry, gooseberry, blackberry, anything that ends in the word berry. So I always love it and laugh when I have clients that sign up, and then a few weeks later they'll come back and I tell them the only fruits you can eat, and they come back and they'll go, hey, Luisa, can I have a banana? And I'll say, tell me where the word berry is in the word banana. And yes, then I'll say, yes, you can eat the banana. In other words, no.
Okay, makes sense. Wow, right. Luisa, phenomenal. Listen, we've been talking for 2 hours.
I know. Oh my goodness.
I can
we just
keep on
scratched the
going.
surface.
I know. We definitely have to schedule a part 2 for next week. Let's stop here because listen, I get another call in a few minutes to catch up with. Prepare. But listen, we'll do definitely. Please book a time for next week. Around the same time, 9 anytime after 8 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
And we'll resume this wonderful conversation. As you said, we're only scratching the surface. I think this is going to be 3 or 4 part series. There's so much. And one of them I would love to, if it's possible, to Vince join us,
Oh my God, yes. Let him join us when we tell his story about how he resisted my KCKO method.
Yes. We'll do that.
And how I had to push him into the KCKO method. But anyway, it was a pleasure, Payman. KCKO, keep calm, keto on.
Absolutely. And one last question. If someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Oh gosh, just look me up, Luisa Morrone. That's LuisaMorrone.com. You can also, it's Luisa Morrone on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. You can find me. And there's also, I have two websites, louisamorrone.com and kckomethod.com.
We're gonna dive deeper into your KC Keto method on part 2. Absolutely. Listen, absolutely honor, pleasure, delight connecting with you. I'm truly grateful that we connected. Everything happens for a reason and at the right time.
I know.
I can't wait till when I'm back in Toronto to meet in person. But
Yep.
listen, I
we
salute
will.
you. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with your presence, your impact, everything you do. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you. And what is it? Keep keto, keep calm.
KCKO, keep calm, keto on.
Right on. All right. Arrivederci. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.